Welcome to Omaha's 2020 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. The CAPER reviews our annual accomplishments to HUD. This includes how federal funding is spent and how our annual goals and 5-year goals have been met to date, along with actions the City has taken in the past year to affirmatively further fair housing. All of the funding priorities serve very low and low and moderate income households in the city and special needs populations. Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG funds, support neighborhood revitalization, affordable housing, non-homeless supportive housing, economic development, and fair housing-focused projects and programs. Home Investment Partnership funds support housing construction, affordable housing, and fair housing activities. Emergency Solutions Grant, or ESG funds, support emergency shelter operations, rapid rehousing, and services to prevent homelessness. Our 5-year and annual goals listed here are based on priorities identified during the 2019-2023 Consolidated Plan development. They were established based on needs identified through public and stakeholder input, focus groups, the needs assessment, housing market analysis, and the AFFH, or Analysis of Impediments, process. Funding priorities are affirmed in subsequent public meetings through community input. Priorities the community identified in order of highest priority to lowest were neighborhood revitalization, affordable housing, homelessness, non-homeless supportive housing, economic development, fair housing, and community resilience. All of the plans and this CAPER are available on our website at planninghcd.cityofomaha.org. And now let's take a look at the accomplishments in 2020 in each of the priority areas. In 2020, the City demolished 20 unfit and unsafe buildings with CDBG funds and 65 with the City's general funds. A code enforcement inspector was hired in 2019 and dedicated to serving the North NRSA, or Neighborhood Revitalization Strategy area. There were 399 code violation cases completed in the North NRSA in 2020. In many cases, the inspector made repeated follow-up visits to properties to ensure owners resolved all violations for a total of 1,549 visits. The volume of repeated visits per case speaks to the poor condition of much of North Omaha's housing and the need for a continued focus on housing rehabilitations. CDBG funding also provided sidewalk improvements serving about 18,090 residents in the North and South NRSAs. In 2020, the City completed 15 home-funded new single-family construction projects and 632 CDBG-funded owner-occupied housing rehabilitation projects. These included emergency repairs, exterior rehabs, energy conservation, handyman, barrier removal, and roof replacement programs. 4 single-family home rehabs for resale and 8 rental rehab projects were also completed utilizing home funds. Nobility Point, a multifamily new construction project, was not finished in time for inclusion in the 2020 CAPER totals, but was completed in early 2021 and will be included in that year's CAPER. Emergency Solutions Grant funding provided rapid rehousing to 37 households and supported the metro area homeless management information system. ESG assistance to Sienna Francis House and Stevens Center provided shelter operating expenses for 3,427 individuals, or 145,383 bed nights. Bed nights refers to the number of beds occupied each night for the year, including beds occupied by the same individual for multiple nights. Omaha Housing Authority provided tenant-based rental assistance to 40 formerly homeless households with home funds. Family Housing Advisory Services provided financial and housing education to 113 households with CDBG funds. Private mortgage financing and city second mortgage underwriting were provided by Omaha 100 to 18 low and moderate income households with CDBG and private funding sources. Altogether, 647 non-homeless households were provided affordable housing support in 2020. COVID, of course, made everything change, including plans and how we and our partners carry out activities. This caused some delays and reductions due to social distancing. Despite the disruption, Step Up provided 180 youth with employment and job training. And in 2021, Catholic Charities Microenterprise Assistance, Love's Jazz Rehabilitation, and Goodwin's Barbershop projects will get underway. CARES Act-funded programs to address COVID are ongoing. The funds continue to help us provide things like rent assistance, microenterprise support, meal delivery, COVID testing, and housing for people experiencing homelessness. Those accomplishments will be reported in future CAPERs when the projects are completed. However, the programs have been instrumental in helping the city respond to COVID-19 and helping residents remain safely housed. Efforts to remove the negative effects of zoning and land use controls include the passage of Omaha's transit-oriented development zoning in 2020. The zoning allows the creation of accessory dwelling units on parcels with existing single-family structures. Accessory units create density and provide additional affordable housing, typically for students and seniors. Omaha will also develop and adopt an Affordable Housing Action Plan by 2024 to fulfill Nebraska's new Municipal Density and Missing Middle Housing Act requirements for increasing density and the affordable housing inventory. Implementation of Omaha's rental registration system in 2020 helps us ensure all rental properties are regularly inspected and maintained in safe, decent conditions. We are also working to increase our public and private coordination. Neighborhood planning staff have been very active in meeting and communicating with residents and neighborhood groups. And the Human Rights and Relations Office has held numerous educational events and outreach activities. For more detailed information on what we're doing to ensure fair housing and affirmative marketing, please see sections CR 35 and CR 50 of the CAPER. Our final priority area is community resilience. The urgency for a recovery plan increases every year, whether it's due to storm damage or other kinds of disasters. And it's not just what happens in Omaha that concerns us, but when events like flooding happen in other areas, it can strain affordable housing availability in Omaha. We are currently planning a housing recovery and community resilience workshop for the fall of 2021. And now we'll take a look at how projects were made possible with federal funds. The allocations shown for CDBG, Home, and ESG are our regular funding received from Congress and do not include CARES Act CV funds. The amounts expended, shown in yellow, includes program income and previous year's funds. Because we had those additional funds and because COVID reduced or delayed some activities in 2020, it has left us with a large amount of carryover funding to 2021. We have an estimated $950,000 in CDBG and $2.2 million in home funding that will carry over to 2021. The city leveraged over $3.8 million in matching funds in 2020. Matches from Step Up Summer Youth Employment Program, Omaha 100, Family Housing Advisory Services, and Youth Emergency Services leveraged public and private funds with CDBG funds. The city leveraged $1.1 million in home matching funds in 2020. In addition to these funds, Habitat for Humanity provided a home match in the form of volunteer labor for demolitions. The Nebraska Affordable Housing Trust Fund provided $600,000 in support of new housing construction completed in 2020. All ESG funds are matched 1-to-1 with private funds provided by the ESG recipients. The recipient's match was slightly more than 1-to-1 to also cover the city's administrative match cost for a total of $404,899. And finally, we'll look at where these investments took place. The CDBG and home investments shown here include new housing construction, housing rehabilitation, code inspections, demolitions, and sidewalk improvements. They do not include homebuyer education, public services, job training, or other non-housing activities. The city spent about 74% of its CDBG and home funds on housing and neighborhood improvement activities in the central city east of 72nd Street, and 54% of the funds in the north and south NRSAs, where at least 51% of the population are low and moderate income. Of the 1,060 housing activities completed citywide in 2020, 94% were east of 72nd Street, 71% were in the North NRSA, 1.2% were in the South NRSA, and 28% were outside of an NRSA. The increasing percentage of housing rehabilitation projects occurring outside the NRSA areas indicates a growing shift in areas of need as the housing stock ages and the number of low and moderate income households increases in other areas of the city. Approximately 64% of CDBG and home funds supported activities that reached areas of low income concentration. Those are the green areas on the map. These areas are defined in the 2019-2023 Consolidated Plan as census tracts with a population with an estimated median household income of less than 80% area median income, and more than 25% of the population is below the poverty level. The definition is based on HUD's 2018 area median income calculation for Omaha, which was $65,300 for a family of 4. You can read the full CAPER report on our webpage at planninghcd.cityofomaha.org. We encourage you to do that. Please let us know your thoughts, or if you have any questions about this report, by submitting your comments to hcdcomments@cityofomaha.org. Public comment for this report is open until April 24th. The CAPER will be submitted to HUD the following week. Thank you.